the heart of Kenya's Masai Mara, where nature's beauty meets its brutal reality, lived Shira, a powerful lioness, queen of her pride. One scorching afternoon, a desperate hunt turned into a devastating fight for survival. Pierced by a rhino's horn, abandoned by her own kind, and left for dead under the relentless African sun, Shira's story seemed to be over. Rain lashed down, wounds festered, and vultures circled, ready to claim their prize. A magnificent pride of 7 lions called the southern edge of the Masai Mara Reserve in Kenya home. Among them, Shira stood out with her deep golden fur, piercing eyes, and a truly majestic way of moving. One sweltering afternoon, the pride noticed a lone rhinoceros intent on finding water. With Shira leading, they began a silent approach, using a clever rearguard strategy. The rhino, sensing danger, quickly backed away, preparing to defend itself with its large, sharp horn dot as Shira launched her attack. The rhino charged back fiercely, its horn tearing into her left shoulder and sending her crashing to the ground, groaning in pain. The other lions, seized by panic, retreated, leaving their leader motionless in the vast wilderness. Shira tried to push herself up, but the deep wounds in her chest and leg left her overwhelmed by pain and exhaustion. She lay there, breathing heavily, watching her family disappear as her awareness faded. That evening, a heavy rain began to fall, cold drops landing on Shira's still body. She lay curled up, shivering in the soaked grass, too weak to move. The rainwater infected her wounds, and her shoulder showed signs of tissue decay. Swarms of flies arrived, covering her body, especially around the pus-filled areas. They crawled over her face, back, ears, and eyes, making it nearly impossible for her to open them. As night fell, the sounds of insects echoed through the wilderness, and Shira could only hear her own fading heartbeat. She did not eat or drink, simply lying there, gasping for each breath as if counting every remaining minute of her life dot by morning. The flies still swarmed over her body, even entering her ears and nose. Shira could no longer make a sound. She only gasped and trembled in pain. A herd of antelopes passing by fled in fear at the tragic sight. The sun rose, and the hot wind carried the stench of her infected wounds, filling the air. Vultures circled in the distance, waiting for death to claim her. The grass beneath her flattened, soaked with blackened blood. Her eyes were almost shut, barely open, as if clinging to a faint hope for a miracle. Then, the distinct sound of a ranger jeep echoed from afar, a glimmer of final chance. 2 rangers, Thomas and Keegan, were on routine patrol when they spotted Shira's motionless body surrounded by flies. At first, they thought she was dead, but Thomas noticed the subtle rise and fall of her chest. Cautiously, they approached, holding tranquilizer guns, though Shira showed no reaction. No need to tranquilize her. She's too weak, Keegan whispered. Thomas quickly administered resuscitation medicine into Shira's front leg vein, followed by a saline solution mixed with vitamins and mild anti-inflammatory drugs. Keegan used insect spray to clear the flies, making treatment easier. Her shoulder and chest wounds were severely infected, requiring immediate care. Thomas radioed for a rescue vehicle and a veterinary team. The rangers stood guard, watching for any approaching predators. Shira was given her name, meaning Little Flame, symbolizing her will to survive. When the ambulance arrived, she was carefully lifted onto a stretcher and rushed to the wildlife center. There, Chief Physician Dr. Jerry performed emergency surgery. Her left shoulder was severely damaged, and her chest had a deep open wound. After administering broad-spectrum antibiotics and anesthesia, Dr. Jerry meticulously cleaned the wounds, removing damaged tissue and stitching her up with antibacterial thread. For 3 hours, the team worked tirelessly. Shira was then moved to post-operative care, placed on a soft mattress with heat lamps to keep her warm. On the first day, her vital signs stabilized. On the second, she briefly opened her eyes before closing them again from exhaustion. The doctors encouraged her. "Hold on, little flame, do not go out." The entire center waited, hoping for a miracle. After 10 days of intensive treatment, Shira stood and walked for the first time. She was moved to a semi-wild enclosure with real grass, sunshine, and shade. Though she still limped, her eyes grew, sharper and calmer. The stitches healed, leaving long scars on her shoulders and hips. She began eating raw meat, her hunting instincts slowly returning. Under 24-hour surveillance, Shira's recovery was closely monitored. One morning, Thomas announced, "Our strong girl is back." Once fully healed, Shira remained in the enclosure as a conservation ambassador. Tourists flocked to see the lioness with striking scars, listening to her story of survival. A powerful photo of her standing tall, scars visible, went viral, making her a symbol of resilience. A journalist wrote, "Looking at Shira, I understand that scars do not hide beauty. They create it." Dr. Jerry often sat by her enclosure talking to her like an old friend. Shira became more than a survivor, she was a beacon of hope. The reserve introduced Baraka, a gentle male lion who had also been injured and lived alone. At first cautious, Shira soon grew comfortable with him. They rested together under trees, shared meals, and drank from the same lake. In time, Shira affectionately rubbed her head against Baraka's shoulder, finding peace and companionship. Shira, the little flame once on the brink of death, had found a home and love. Her story, told across the Masai Mara, reminds us that wounds are not just sources of pain but proof of hope. In the face of nature's challenges, resilience and compassion can rewrite destiny. What are your thoughts on Shira's incredible journey? Share your comments below.